Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Caitlin. I have waited so long to record this video because I was wanting to do the little Valentine's Day series in between, but I really think that this is an interesting story and not many people will be able to relate to it, but hopefully it makes someone feel better about their homecoming experience, because let me tell you, my homecoming was a disaster, and you will see why I called it a homecoming horror story.
Can you be a little bit stronger?
Let me preface this video by saying I didn't really have friends in high school. Like, I had like one good friend and her name's Cedia. I know she's gonna watch this, so hey Cedia. But yeah, I had like one good friend in high school, and I think that contributed to this whole story, and you'll see what I mean. Really, for the longest time, there was no one I could depend on, and if I'm being honest and vulnerable, I showed up to things alone because I had no one to go with. And eventually I would just end up talking to someone that I kind of knew, and then they would go off with their friends, and then I would go home. And yes, it sucked because I don't know anyone else who didn't have a friend group. Like, everyone had their friend groups from middle school, and like the best friend that I did have like found someone better, and really just like no one stayed for me in high school. But I think it did teach me to be a stronger person, and now I really do feel like my own powerhouse. And I know that I don't really need anyone, and I think that the friendships that I've fostered, friendships that I have now, are so real, and it just makes me happy to know that it did get better eventually. This story begins at a commercial shoot. I was doing a commercial shoot for Southwest University, and I met a boy. I don't know what I'm gonna call him. I've been watching iCarly. Let's call him Freddie. So I meet Freddie at this Southwest University commercial, and it's just us two at the shoot, and we really just start talking, getting to know each other, and I think that Freddie is pretty cute. And I'm like, ooh, are we soulmates? Are we gonna get married? And we're just like talking throughout the commercial shoot, and they're just shooting different clips. At the end of the commercial shoot, he asked me if I had a Snapchat, and I was like, yes. So I gave him my Snapchat, and then we started talking. He was asking me if I wanted to hang out, and I was like, sure. But the thing is that this guy is from a different country. So he was living here in El Paso because he just wanted to live in America for whatever reason. And he was living on the west side with his aunt. Because he was living with his aunt, and because he wasn't in his home country, he didn't really have any means of transportation, and I had to pick him up. And looking back, you know, in retrospect, I wouldn't pick him up because like he could have had his aunt drive him. Something. So I drive all the way to the west side. Keep in mind, this is like a 40-minute drive. It wastes like a quarter tank of my gas, and we just stay on the west side. We hung out a few times. He was pretty cool. His only personality trait was partying, and he was like a cool guy. Anyway, so around this time, my senior year homecoming was coming up, and I was really excited for it because I honestly love dances, and I had chosen a dress, but I didn't have anyone to go with. So I thought, okay, you know what if I just invite Freddie to go with me, because it'll be fun. So I hit up Freddie on Snapchat, and he's like, yeah, sure, I'm down. So then I tell him that I'm gonna be wearing red. That day I got ready, I took pictures, and then I was like, hey, I'm on my way. I go all the way to the west side, all 40 minutes of that drive. And yes, 40 minutes is a while for me because like I live in a smaller city, so like I know people in like LA and stuff are like, that's nothing. Okay, well, for me it's a lot. It's a long drive. I drive all the way to the west side to pick him up, and as soon as I get to his house, and like as soon as he like comes to get me from my car or whatever, I can tell he's not in a good mood. And I'm just like, oh. I knew I could see the night happening, and I was just like, oh, this is horrible. This is a disaster. This is my senior year. This is supposed to be like the best homecoming ever, and I know that this guy's about to ruin it. On the dance floor, everyone there is having a blast. It's my senior class there, and everyone just looks like they're having fun, and he was just standing there. Like, he was just standing there, not even trying to dance. When I was trying to get him to dance with me, he was just like, I'm uncomfortable, like I just feel so weird here. I don't know anyone. So then at this point, I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm gonna get this guy to dance. I don't know why he agreed to it, if he knew he didn't like to dance or for whatever reason, but it was just awful. We go towards the restrooms and I run into one of my admins. I'm talking to her and I think she can tell that I'm uncomfortable with this guy or that like something's going wrong, but he's just like talking to me and we're like sitting down and I'm already very upset because I was so excited to go out and dance. If you know me, you know that something I love to do is dance. I just want to dance all the time. So we're sitting down at one of those little decorative tables that they have and he's like, what if we just leave and like go park somewhere? And I was like, oh, you're one of them, you're one of them. And I'm just like, I get angry right here. I start to get mad because at first I'm like feeling sorry for myself, but then I'm getting mad because I'm like, you can't just agree to do this and then just be acting like that. So I was just like, oh. Like he wasn't even trying to act like he was having a good time. He was literally, he looked like this miserable creature. He looked like I had dragged him to like marry me or something like that. So then he's like, yeah, like let's go get ice cream and like go park somewhere. And I'm like, that is the most boring thing ever. There are so many guys that think that going to park somewhere is a date. It's not a date. It's not fun. It's so boring. Like, how are you that boring? Like, it's a little bit different when like your whole thing as a couple is to like have parked car conversations. But like, keep in mind, I hung out with this guy like twice before and he seemed cool, but apparently he wasn't. Like I said, I was getting mad at this point. So I was just like, yeah, let's go. I take my little sports car and I drive out of that parking lot super upset, not talking to him. We go to Sonic and then I let him buy me ice cream and then I'm like, all right, like I'm just gonna take you home now. So then I am like speeding to the west side, speeding. Like I am telling you, I cut that drive by like a solid 10 minutes because I was just like going 80. Like I was so upset and I just wanted to go home. I drove him all the way to the west side. I dropped him off and I literally just sat in my car and cried. This video wouldn't be juicy if I didn't insert the clips of me crying. So here's the clips of me crying. Alright, so I'm crying my eyes out on the way home and I'm just like thinking about the past. I'm like, remember when someone cared about you? So remember when guys were willing to be your date to the dance in middle school? Remember when guys would dance with you at quinceañeras? Anyway, the tears are flowing, whatever. I get home and then one of my friends was like, hey, there's an after party. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah. So I clean myself up. I hide it all under the glam. I hide it all. Keep my high heels on, but I had a coat because I don't know what dressing casual means. Apparently everyone went home to change and it was like that moment in Legally Blonde. But yeah, I showed up in my dress and I showed up with like a coat and all that. And I walk into this party. Let's just try to talk to the people that we know. I'm just like telling the people that I meet at the party about Freddie and I'm like, this guy did this. And they're like, oh girl, I'm so sorry, whatever. And then this is where it gets dramatic. A little backstory. There was this guy that I was friends with. I'm gonna call him Gibby because like iCarly theme, haha. Gibby is my friend and we like are good friends, whatever. And Gibby's ex-girlfriend, Tasha, I've watched too much iCarly. Gibby's ex-girlfriend, Tasha, thought that Gibby and I had a thing, but it was never like that. And we kind of tried to make that clear to her, but I don't know what happened on her end. Gibby comes up to me at this party and he's just like talking to me. At this point in my life, there was a lot of people in high school that just like hated me. And I thought we made up at that party, but then like they continued to talk about me like on their spam accounts and stuff after high school. So, and like I said, I didn't really talk to anyone. It wasn't like everyone, but there was like groups that decided to be mean, to be vicious. I kind of was just avoiding them. And I'm talking to Gibby because he's one of the few people that is decent with me. And then Tasha, his ex-girlfriend, comes up. She yells in front of everyone, "Ew, it's the bleep I hate." And I was just like, look to the left. Everybody look to the right. Me? Obviously me, no one else. I was like, look, it's not my fault that like you're insecure about like our friendship. And keep in mind, they weren't even together at this point. I had already asked Tasha at school before if she would just leave me alone. We had a class together, and after class I was just like, hey, can I talk to you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I would really appreciate it if you stopped telling everyone that I'm a because I'm friends with your ex-boyfriend. And she was like, okay. And I thought she would leave me alone after that, but she didn't. So anyways, Tasha comes up to me. She says that stuff. She started yelling. She was like, I'm not insecure. And then her friend was like kind of trying to pull her away from like the whole thing. Thankfully, this one girl kind of stood up for me, and it honestly surprised me that she did, because I really don't think that anyone would stand up for me. I was usually like kind of dealing with people by myself. And she was just like, hey, like you don't do that. Like you don't do that to people. Just because you're like under the influence doesn't make it okay for you to be going up to people and like saying things like that. And she runs off, and I'm just like, I thought this night couldn't get any worse, but it just did. Thankfully, by the end of the night, I didn't feel so sad about the fact that like my homecoming was just ruined. It was still a horror story. Because like, imagine this, you meet a guy, start talking to him, and then you think he's cool, and then you're like, will you take me to homecoming? And then he's like, yeah. And then he's like the worst date ever, and he's not talking to you, and he refuses to dance with you, and he just makes you feel like so stupid for even inviting him, and he just like makes you feel like you shouldn't have even gone. And that's really how I felt. I should have just not tried. But like I said, like I showed up to a lot of things alone, and I think homecoming was just something that I didn't want to show up to alone. I just didn't want to miss out on like my senior year high school experience. Little did I know I would miss out because of the pandemic anyway. And I wanted to dance my feet off for a night just for my senior year, but I didn't get that, and that's okay. And it was really just wild. Like, I almost got into a fight. I don't fight. I can. Just kidding. Everyone else seemed to be having a great time, so I'm really happy that everyone else got to dance with all their friends, or like their boyfriends, their girlfriends, whoever. So yeah, I'm just happy that everyone else seemed to have a great time and a great night. And even though I didn't, you know, there's more to life than homecoming dances. And if you're in high school right now and you are like dealing with something similar, I'm here to tell you things may not change, but they do get better. And things hurt, but those wounds do heal. It is what it is. So yeah, if you're feeling lonely in high school, I'm really sorry. I have been there. I understand. My DMs are open if you need a friend. If you all enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If any of you have ever had a horrible date to a school event, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next video. Sometimes I wish I had just been that quirky kid that was like, I don't care about school dances, and then stayed home.
Sorry, I never see you, I never see you, I never see you, I never see you, I never see you anymore.